Hello fellow pilots, I'm Major Payne and I would like to welcome you in the first episode of Advanced Fighter Pilot Training. It will be a short series of few videos, but I hope it will be very helpful and we will cover many things which are hard to be learned by yourself because the game simply doesn't tell us about it. So as this is advanced training, not a tutorial for completely new pilots, let's start with one of the most important things, which is control settings. Okay, so now we have here advanced settings. But before that, let's go to basic control, then to the flight control, and we have pitch up and pitch down in here. This is very important, and the game basic settings does not assign any buttons to it. So one of the better solution is to assign Q and E, in my opinion. And after assigning those buttons, we can make a basic loop by pressing one button without using the mouse. It's useful in a turn fight because with mouse we have to adjust mouse all the time to make sure we will do turn as tight as possible, and if we roll on a side and press pitch up, plane will be doing turn even without mouse adjusting. And it's a way to maximize the turning time. So the players who make change to these settings and use pitch up in a turn fight will have better turning time than the players with standard settings that game provide. There are a lot of myths related to this topic, so I try to explain it. I tested all these settings with friend in training room, and in order to achieve as short as possible turn time, it was enough to add in settings pitch up and use it in a turn fight. After adding this and leaving the rest of the settings unchanged, you will be even able to sense during the turn fight that the plane turns faster after pressing pitch up. Another benefit from it is in a bomber or any plane with tail gunner, we can have full control over the plane when we sit on tail gunner, and not only turning plane to right and left but also up and down. This is very important not to get crashed or somewhere, or simply helps maintaining the fire zone for tail gunner. And of course it's make harder for enemy to hit us. So these settings are critically important. I recommend to everyone to have at least pitch up assigned to E, so we will not have disadvantage in a dogfight. Personally, I do not use pitch down. I'm not flying in bombers too often, and I prefer to have Q assigned to camera back, so when I fly in altitude fighter, I can go up and look on enemy on my tail to know when he's actually just about to stall, and then I can turn back and have a kill. But this is of course my preferences, but yeah. Next we can assign rudder. I have Z and X, but again you can try something different. Main thing is to have this assigned to something. This will be useful in maneuvers like canopy roll or in a bomber over the sector when we wait on bombs reload, but we want to stay over the sector, not taking damage from air. So by pressing X or Z, we go into the flat turn just by holding X or Z and on the keyboard, and we use rudder to make this turn, and AA cannot hit us basically, and we wait until we reload bombs and we can start dropping them straight away because we stay over the sector. Another important thing are flaps. We can assign F for them. Thanks to that we will have control over flaps when we want to use them. For that we will have to switch off automatic flaps, but that is in advanced settings where we go now for a moment. And now in the basic game settings we will have rate of roll on 100%, level of rate on 100%, and automatic flaps on. And vertical inversion is a vertical inversion, so not important, just a matter of your preferences. What's need to be changed here is rate of roll on 0 if you like to have full control over the plane. The plane will make flat turns using only rudder when you switch this off. Of course, when you use your mouse to turn. In order to roll, you will have to use your keyboard, A or D, and yeah, I personally don't use this, so I leave it on 100%, but it's an option if you like to have full control over your plane. So this parameter basically determines how fast we turn when we use mouse only. Next we have level off rate on 0. This simply means that the plane is not going to automatically level off after we turn right or left. We can actually fly inverted plane if we like. This is useful in some situations, specifically in the beginning of engagement, if we want to make a reverse Immelmann maneuver, for example. And as I tested, I keep the level of rate on 100%. That's have no impact on aircraft speed. I tested in a training room with my friend, and so if you have that on, it's okay. It's not going to slow you down, as some pro players may say. However, benefit from level off rate on 0 is if we're flying head-on with enemy, we can roll the plane on the side and in advance, and prepare for turn straight away. We don't have to keep correcting plane, which trying to get back to the level. The advanced player will definitely have this enabled, so they can decide how they will fly themselves, simply full control. So yeah, I recommend to switch this off, and that's going to be a little bit a shock in the beginning, because we used to that plane actually level off every time, and yeah, that's kind of shock, but if we able to use to that, it's going to be beneficial for us in some certain situations. Specifically on the beginning of engagement, we can set up our plane in the direction of the turn we are going to do. And now we are getting to automatic flaps off. This is quite important. With automatic flaps on, the plane will lose more speed during the turn, so it's worth to turn it off and decide yourself when you are going to extend the flaps. For slow maneuverable planes, it's not that important, but heavy fighter, for example, they can lose quite a lot of speed if we chase someone or we run away and we want to do maneuvers. Then automatic flaps will activate and they take quite a lot of speed. So yeah, advanced player will not use automatic flaps for sure. It's hard to get used to it, that's for sure. But it's worth it, and I assign my flaps to F on a keyboard, and here is a little test I want to show you. So we are doing here basic loop just by pressing E, which is pitch up in this moment, and we start the loop with 706 km per hour, flaps are on, and in a moment where we are going to level off at 0 degrees, we will have 490 km per hour. So from 706 km per hour we get down to 490 km per hour when we finish the loop. Now next loop we are going to do with speed which starts on 710 km per hour. Flaps are on off, there are no flaps now. As you can see on a plane, flaps are not extended, and we are going to finish this loop with speed 509 km per hour in just if you stop in a moment where we have 0 degrees. When we finish the loop is 509 km per hour. Now yeah, so that's mean we are losing speed with automatic flaps on. One more thing I want to mention here is aerodynamic brakes. Activate by pressing S. You have to remember that not all planes have aerodynamic brakes. By pressing S we extend the flaps, reduce engine thrust, and we extend the aerodynamic brakes, but only if we have one. So they help to slow down more, and thanks to that, slowing down, we can make the turn tighter. Of course, in a range of our optimum speed. We cannot go below this speed. So yeah, that helps. So just keep in mind that extending flaps is not all we can do to make the turn tighter in some planes, like this Hawker Hunter here. So this is example that we need to know our plane very well before we enter combat. So yeah, just keep in mind that you have to be aware of all parameters you have: speed, maneuverability, stall speed, high altitude performance do you have or not, how high you can go, there's a lot of things you need to be aware. And then you have to compare those parameters of your plane with other planes on the same tier, and if you are prepared like this, you have those knowledge, you go into the combat, then you know which plane you can engage, how to engage it. the best way, you can adjust to the situation, and that's gonna be very beneficial for you, and you're gonna get much better results. Okay, so that was a hard part. We have it behind us, but in a game it will be very difficult to get used to these new settings. You just have to be aware of it, that this is going to be a kind of shock to you. I myself, after such a changes, I turned back to the basic settings several times because I couldn't play. Before, playing did everything by itself, and suddenly so many more activities fell on me. So yeah, let's go to next importance. Let's move to general settings, and there is advanced tab as well. So we go in here, and as you can see, I have everything marked because I'm a fan of as much information as possible. But if that's bother you, you have too many information on the screen, you can always leave the section with Alt for some of the options. So in a battle, by pressing Alt, you will get all the information you want. But if you don't need them, you just you don't have to press Alt. So, when it's come to aircraft bank, show the aircraft bank or show the horizontal bank, you should choose the aircraft bank, because in a sniper mode, if you have the previous settings turned off, like level off rate to be precisely, so your plane are not going to level off automatically, you have to level off. So if you see the aircraft bank in a sniper mode, that's gonna help you to, that's basically not help you, that's the information for you in what kind of position is your plane currently. So, but if you don't have that, if you have horizontal bank, so you may not be sure what exact position of your plane is in when you are in a sniper mode, or you attack some ground targets or some planes below you or something like that. Then you can lose your orientation, and that could be potentially danger. You can crash. So it's going to be much better to have aircraft bank on the screen. Now there are options for minimap as well, and there is a rotate player marker. I think that's much better than rotate map, so that's going to be much useful for it. But it's kind of a matter of your own preferences, so whatever you like. But I prefer to have the player marker to be turned instead of the map, so that helps me with orientation, where I'm on the map, where I'm going on the map, and so on. Now let's go back to the basic control settings. So we have here as well fire control, which is our armament. And what I want to say here, that there are some planes in a game that they have more than one type of cannon, so like 40mm cannon and 20mm cannon, or 30mm cannon and some 20s. There's few planes with different armament, and there is options to add fire weapon group 1, fire weapon group 2. So if specifically if you have like mouse with multi options, like multi buttons on it, so you can assign a different weapon system to different button. And so like you can choose for 20mm cannons one side of the mouse, or whatever you like, anything on a keyboard or whatever you like. And then for heavy cannons with different range, you can add this weapon system too. Like, so what that's give you is, just because some of the weapons have different range, so if we start firing all at once, then we overheat some of the cannons, which are not actually even effective because they are not in an effective range. So this is for certain planes only, but let me show you an example here. Like I have here this P1056. It's a British heavy fighter on tier 8, and this plane have 4 20mm cannons here underbelly, and in the wings he have 40mm cannons when you fully upgrade this. So the thing is here that the 40mm cannons, they have like 640 meters range, you see, and the 20mm cannons, they have 780 meters range. So by assigning those other buttons on your mouse, then you can start firing from 20mm cannons only, and then when the, for example, bomber or any other target is in range of 600 meters, 640, then we can press left mouse and fire from all the weapons we have. So thanks to that, we're not going to overheat 40mm cannons too quickly. So this is a thing like you may know or may not know, but for those who don't know this, that could be very useful if it's happened that you're gonna play this plane. There's like Messerschmitt BF 209 as well on tier 8. That's good few planes with different cannons, different ranges on it. So it's worth to take a look on it. You may be much more effective, much more firepower you're gonna bring, specifically in some heavy fighters. So that's one of the things I would like to share with you now. Let's get back to the control settings, and from here we go to battle interface, and as you can see here we have lock danger enemy assigned to C, lock target located in a screen center, and I have that assigned to one of my mouse button. Locked on nearest target, I don't have that assigned at the moment, but that could be very useful as well. So by locking on target, which could be a best player in enemy team, for example, and we have to go to the camera settings as well and make sure that you have snap to target. I have that assigned to G, so you can assign that to whatever you like, but something comfortable anyway. So in my case, if I press G after I locked on some danger target or some specific player I choose, so my camera will go turn into the enemy, so in split second I can actually take a look on the enemy, what is he doing. Thanks to that I may not be surprised by the best enemy player, and that can be very, very useful. I noticed that most of the players are actually not using that, but this is very good. And or if you get into the some dogfight or attacking the ground attacker, you close on him, you can just quickly lock on the nearest target, or when you approach him and you have him in your aiming circle, you can press whatever you have here and lock on him. So then when you pass him and you want to turn on him again, then you can in split second take a look what this ground attacker is doing, if he's going after you or not. That can be very, very useful. Or another example, I go after a bomber, I locked on him, for example, and let's say I'm below him and I'm just trying to make myself ready to attack, and I just in split second I can take a look what is he doing. Is he going some right or left, or what is he doing, like how far away is he? So that can be very, very useful, but most of the players are not doing that, but definitely the best players are actually using this. So last thing I want to show you is chat, and we have this chat commands here. So most of you probably know that we have bots in the game, but maybe not everyone know that we can actually give command to those bots. So by pressing F2 when we aim to enemy sector, one of the ground attacker or bomber will actually go there and attack this sector. So that could be very useful. And if we point to our sector, then and we press F2, then one of the fighters or multi-role fighters or heavy fighter will go there and defend this, try to defend this sector. So that could be very useful as well. Give us some kind of control over the bots. Now F3 is very useful as well. If you, for example, go in somewhere to some sector and you see, oh my god, I'm going actually on my own, no one else is going with me. So if you by pressing F3, basically one of the bots will respond. That's going to be one of the light fighter, multi-role fighter, or heavy fighter that he's going with you, and one of the bot will go and try to support you. So that can be useful as well. Now F4 is very useful as well. Like if you're attacking some plane, it's really worth to press F4, then one of the bots will actually help you with this attack. And the same if if you see that someone is struggling over the sector, one of your teammate, you can aim at him and press F4, and then one of the nearest bots will respond and try to help your teammate. And the last quite important here command is F7, clear my tail. I use that quite often. So if you, for example, get into the dogfight with someone and like you're making those circles in a turn fight and there is no clear winner, but if you press F7 quick enough, so one of the bot will actually come and help you, and that could be actually the factor which decide about who's gonna win this dogfight. One of the bots can come in and help you. So I noticed that most of the players are actually not using that, but definitely top players are using bots to support themselves. Or another example I have, like if you are in a light fighter and you see human player in a bomber, and you can't literally go after him because you are in a light fighter. You not fly that high, not enough speed on that altitude or firepower. So if you see an enemy bomber nearby, you can aim at him and press F4. Not necessarily with your aiming circle. You can use the camera, just free camera around your plane, and like I'm into the bomber and just press F4 and he will be marked. So if this nearby, if some your team heavy fighter bot is nearby, he will definitely go and attack this bomber. So that can be very useful. So yeah, those commands are quite important, and it's really worth cost you nothing, so you can use them, and that could be a really big impact on a game. Sometimes I notice that sometimes it's very helpful for me when the bot's actually helping me with some dogfight or some tough enemy. For example, I can mark someone, some best player. When I attack one of the best player, for example, in a game, then most likely I will press F4 on him before I even approach, and one of the bot will go actually with me then. I mean, not always that work, but it's really cost you nothing to try, and sometimes you'll be surprised how effective that could be. Okay, I think that this is it for the video. Actually, that came up longer than I was expecting, but I hope you find guys very useful and helpful. In next future video, I will be talking about the sectors, how to take them over, how many points, which building, and so on and so on. So good portion of important information is coming in the next episode. And please leave a like if you like it, and subscribe for future content. And what else? Thank you guys for watching, and see you in the next one. Take care.